Hey, it's Jordan with TYT Politics. It is Friday, and I'm not in Standing Rock, but I am covering the important updates and news from Standing Rock. Today I have with me Kelly Love. You've been a water protector in Standing Rock for since the summer. And although a lot of people looked at the small victory that was the permit being denied and left. The blizzard kind of forced people out, but there's still a lot of people, hundreds of people that have felony charges or misdemeanors or whatever the nonsense charges that were filed against them by the North Dakota Oil Police, as I call them. Uh, you were one of the earliest arrested, along with four others in August. So just talk to me first. What brought you to Standing Rock? What drove you to get there? And tell me what happened on the day you were arrested.
Thanks, Jordan. I'm happy to be with you today. My name's Kelly Love. Back in late July, early August, we met the Oceti-Sakowin youth runners who were carrying the treaties from North Dakota to Washington, D.C. to bring awareness to what was going on in Standing Rock. We met with them in Washington, D.C. and prayed outside of the White House. And after hearing their stories and their concerns, we're extremely concerned citizens to protect the water and to protect the rights of all of our people. We came back with them to Union Square in New York City and caravan back with them to Sacred Stone Camp. So we arrived at Sacred Stone Camp around August 8th and started helping wherever we could inside the camp. And on August 11th, it was the first day of direct actions, and we were among a group of, I believe, 11 people. People from all nations, two mothers, including myself. I have a 3-year-old son who was with me. Myself and two of my brothers in my band. I'm in a band called One Tribe Movement. The three of us were there, and our sister Malia Hulliman from Hawaii, and we participated in constitutionally protected activity, First Amendment free speech. We carried the prayer and the chant that the youth runners had into the fields, and we were arrested and taken to jail without due process, and we are experiencing more of that right now. We're witnessing rampant color of law crimes against Standing Rock protectors, ourselves, the Lakota tribe, on an enforcement and administrative level. Many civil rights violations. So right now we're facing charges for that, and already there's been several perversions of the justice system that we're very concerned about, because our trial will set a precedence for the rest of the 500 water protectors behind us.
So you guys were basically praying, and the police. Why did the police come in if you guys were just praying prayerfully? Was there an action going on? Kind of explain that.
Well, yeah, at the time the youth runners had just arrived, and how they basically do their actions is they run in the streets chanting, and we ran with them, and we continued to run into an open area that was not blocked off with tape. There were no signs. There was no police line preventing us from going that direction, and we went into the approach that DAPL employees were going in and out of all day, and we sat down peacefully and prayerfully, and we continued that chant. So we had no warning not to be there. There's no police telling us not to be there. I personally have the whole thing recorded, which I'm not releasing yet. But part of the problem is that the state's attorney has filed motions to the judge to not allow us to include our evidence or allow us to speak about why we were there. So 8 hours before we showed up to our pretrial last week, Jordan, we arrived to court and saw that not only disorderly conduct, but a list of other trumped up charges had been added to us without our knowing, which already is a violation of due process.
What other charges?
Criminal trespass, intent to harm, intent to harass. Refusing to obey the command to halt, which I didn't even know that was a violation of anything, but we weren't told to halt, which I have evidence of, and I'm hoping to be able to show that to the court. However, the judge has already approved all of Ladd Erickson's motions and denied every single one of the 11 defendants and their counsel. So we are very concerned because...
and just so people know, Ladd Erickson is the same state's attorney who tried to, out of thin air, say that, charge Amy Goodman with inciting riots or conspiracy or something like that.
Yes, he trying to charge Amy Goodman and Shailene Woodley with criminal trespass and inciting riots and things that are constitutionally protected activity. And we're very concerned because the judge so far is approving those things and violating our rights to due process. Even just submitting the new charges 8 hours before we arrive for our pretrial is violation of due process because they're not allowing us the length of time to gather defense against these new trumped up charges. And we already entered our plea to the one charge. So to come to our pretrial and have, 8 to 10 new charges on all of us, all 11 defendants, which this is another odd thing. We're all being tried as one group in a joinder when all 11 of us weren't even arrested for doing the same thing at the same time or at the same exact location during the day.
When you say he's trying to stop you from showing video evidence or even explaining why you were there, has the judge allowed that, or it's still up in the air whether you're going to be able to show video?
We're waiting on her approval or denial. However, she has made statements in the Bismarck Tribune that you can see that seem she's leaning toward allowing him to do so.
What are the grounds? Why is he claiming that you shouldn't be able to show video or explain what you were doing there?
He doesn't want us to speak about the environmental rights or the treaty rights at all of why we were there, which is crazy because how can you say we're trespassing if we believe we have a reason to be there and proof, according to the treaties, according to many documents, that the court still upholds that those treaties are still in effect. So we have no right to a defense if we can't speak why we were there. So
is his claim that you were on private land?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about the video? What's his argument for you not being able to submit video?
As far as I know, there is no reason of why we can't submit evidence other than that he doesn't want anything regarding the environmental impact or the treaty rights to be brought into the jury and brought into the court. So, he has no right to take away our right to defense or our right of due process, and neither does the judge. But so far, it's not looking too good because she's approved every single one of his motions, even the ones that violate our right to due process, 8 hours before our pretrial. This is a perversion of the justice system, and we all have First Amendment constitutional rights to assemble, to pray, to be concerned citizens and stand up for what we know to be right. And this has been validated. Thousands of veterans just showed up to Standing Rock to apologize and to show up to say that, we have a good reason to be here. So, we need the American people to know that this could happen to them in their community, and it could happen to them in the justice system if we don't stand up.
Do you have a public defender? Do you have a private attorney? What about the others? Explain that.
A couple of us have private attorneys. I have a private attorney who just stepped up when he realized what was going on and felt the ethical need to help protect us from North Dakota. Malia also has a private attorney, and others have public defenders that were just assigned this week. 4 days ago, were just assigned, and we have filed motions for continuances and for time to even have a good rapport with their attorneys and give them all the discovery they need to give us a fair trial. The judge has denied us.
With all the new charges that are coming up, what kind of time are you facing? What would be the ultimate sentencing for these charges?
Well, I'm a little confused about that because just for the disorderly conduct charge, which was our original charge, which is also ludicrous because everything we did was orderly. There's an order to how we did it and protected prayerful activity. The new charges, it's weird because we already entered a plea of not guilty. So I don't quite understand the implications of the new charges. But for the first charge, we're looking at 30 days in jail. We're looking at 6 months of probation and fines. And also the state's attorney has filed a brand new motion for all of our attorneys to document their hours, including the public defenders, to make us financially responsible for our attorneys if we lose. So they're banking on holding us financially accountable for something that's also protected in our civil rights to have a public defender if you can't afford one. That was just approved and filed this week as well.
Your charges, what's the process now? Is there another court date scheduled? The other people that were scheduled with you? I think people watching are going to be correctly outraged, but how can they help? When is the next court hearings? Those kinds of things.
So our first court hearing, actual trial, is December 19th at 8 a.m. at Morton County Courthouse. We are calling for action here in Bismarck in North Dakota for everyone who's concerned and who is supportive of our movement to come to the courthouse and pray with us. And then we're supposed to pick a jury and go into trial all in one day for 11 people that were all arrested at different times, which just seems ludicrous to me. The way that people can support us.
These are jury trials?
Yes. Okay. Which is also another concern, because we've researched some of the potential jurors, and a lot of them have anti-Standing Rock, anti-water protector memes and different things up, on their pages. So it's going to be hard to find a fair trial here because people are so misinformed in the area, and it's a high-profile case. So we've also applied for change of venue, which has been denied. We do have the right to a fair trial, and people out there can support us by sharing these videos. We need high-level legal support. We are ready and willing to file an emergency federal injunction because of the constitutional rights that are being violated. We are ready and willing to take this all the way up to the federal court because we believe in the justice system. And anytime our rights as human beings have been violated, it's taken actions like these to uphold these values. So on December 19th, you can tune in by praying with us, by calling in and letting your voices be heard to the federal government as well as to the Morton County judges that are involved in this trial, and to continue to join in prayer with us in envisioning a positive outcome, because we have been peaceful, prayerful, unarmed water protectors. And this is a turning point in how we mobilize and stand together as people around water, around solidarity for everything that's happening on environmental levels and human rights levels, indigenous levels, treaty rights, from now, especially for the next 4 years, as many people are on high alert because of the changing climate of the president and what's going on here in our country.
Well, I also think, based on my own experience, I did a little undercover video in Bismarck where I talk like this and interviewed people. And having Bismarck residents as your jury, I'm just keeping it real, is not a good thing. They're very very misinformed. There's systemic racism against Native Americans, and seeing you, non-native water protectors as agitators and all this. So I think this is a very important issue. I also think, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, but it's interesting that if you have the public profile that Amy Goodman has and insane charges are levied, a judge will throw it out right away because she's trending on Twitter and there's hundreds of people outside the courthouse and the spotlight is on. But if you have less of a public platform, less of a profile, and the mainstream media obviously hasn't been covering it, all of a sudden these totally corrupt, unlawful things that the state attorney's trying to do are being, rubber stamped by the judge.
You are absolutely correct on both levels. I've been in Bismarck many times with a water protector badge on my shirt and been told to go home, been screamed at. I've really never experienced that level of misinformation because, Bismarck voted to not have the pipeline go through their area and affect their waters. So it seems that they'd be sympathetic to the neighboring community, and they're not, by and large. There are some really amazing residents here who have come up to me on the contrary and said, thank you, what you're doing is noble, but it's very different. And yes, the media spotlight, we need, this is the fight right here. We've already had thousands of people come put their lives and their bodies on the line. Myself, as a mother, I had my son out here for 4 months with me and had to bring him home to my mother to take care of him so he would be safe from the cold and the conditions as they became more and more difficult. But, to be separated from my son is very difficult. And I'm doing it because he and his entire generation deserve clean water and protected rights. I didn't realize this until I became a mother. And right now we need the media. We need the spotlight more than ever, because if we lose the battle in the court system, which we won't, I believe we shall overcome, then there's no legal statutes or standing to protect Standing Rock or to protect future communities where this is happening. This isn't just happening here. It's happening in Iowa. There are white families, landowners that have had their land seized from them using eminent domain when this pipeline's oil is actually bought and paid for by China. So the eminent domain thing is pretty crazy. This could happen to you. The American people need to know that, and we need all of our allies in the media to really shine the light come on December 19th to the courthouse, have interviews. We have an amazing group of water protectors, including Chase Iron Eyes' wife, Dr. Sarah Jumping Eagle, who's a qualified physician and mother of 3. I myself am a mother. We have a group of water protectors that represent all nations, white, yellow, red, black, and brown. We have a Lakota mother and son, a Lakota medicine man. I mean, people that came here for good reason, highly intelligent people, not, the media has tried to spin this as if it's a bunch of angry indigenous people, and it's ludicrous to me because this is an indigenous-led movement, and we are remembering our connections to the earth and each other because of what we're learning from the Lakota people, but it's also a movement that's unified all nations, all generations, and this first group of 11 water protectors exemplifies that. So we want the world to know that we're standing together. We're standing for their rights too, and we really need help from the media to shine a light on us right now.
Last question, just directly. You mentioned you have video, but you're not showing it. Is that a legal advice you've gotten? Because it would seem to me if you have convincing video, we know the power of viral videos, social media. That might be a help to you going into the next court hearing.
Yeah, that's a really good question. That is some legal advice that I've had. I have the full video of our action, and I'm receiving legal advice from many people. The one thing that they don't want is, with the defense being so ludicrous, they don't want them using the video to incriminate anyone else or to use an evidence against any of our other water protectors. So just trying to be very careful and cautious because we're seeing the perversions of the justice system as they occur, and we want to make sure that we do everything. I have that evidence. If they don't allow it to be admissible in court, then we have no defense, and so that would be a complete perversion of the justice system. So and our trial sets a precedence for the next 500 trials. There's over 500 water protectors who have been arrested with us, and I want to mention too that actually Red Fawn was arrested with us that day too. It was her first arrest. She was the first woman to be arrested, and I think she's being singled out because, they profile us, they watch us, those of us who have been in the movement, those of us who have been reaching out to the community and helping this movement grow. Just like the police have made a whole bunch of new trumped up charges against me that I'm an agitator and that I was harassing folks, which I don't know how I could have done that with a baby on my back. But, I'm just trying to be careful for everyone and make sure that we're responsible in light of the threats that we're facing.
And lastly, if people, you mentioned high-level legal help, prayer, where can people contact you? The collection of people, is there one place that people could contact to help?
Yeah, we have a website called onetribeunite.com, and we have a contact email in there. I'm also on Facebook. My name's Kelly Love, Kelly with an I. And, we have the ACLU working on this. We have Bruce Ellison, Leonard Peltier's attorney. We have a lot of legal guidance and a lot of legal help. I think right now the main thing is making sure that Amy Goodman and Young Turks and all of the media outlets that we do have as allies really shine the light on what we're facing now, because this is the new front lines.
Great. We'll be in touch for your court hearing coming up. Make sure we cover it. And thanks for taking the time. And a lot of love coming from me to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Love to you and everyone who's watching. Thank you so much for standing with us and standing with Standing Rock.
Take care.